What's going on, everybody? I hope you're all enjoying your Friday afternoon so far. Thank God it's Friday, TGIF. This is NYG Jeffy T85 here, and I'm going to talk about the New York Mets and what they need to do heading into this very, very, very interesting 10-game road trip where they're going to be playing against the Oakland Athletics starting tonight, and then they're going to be playing the Los Angeles Dodgers. And then they have a 4-game series against the San Francisco Giants. So they're going to be traveling to the West Coast in Oakland, LA, and San Fran. As well as the New York Mets general manager, Billy Eppler, has made his way all the way down to Triple-A Syracuse to scout one of the top prospects right now in Major League Baseball. We all know about him, Brett Baty, who right now has an OPS of 1.348. If you don't think this kid is ready to come up to the major leagues, you don't know what's going on. The Mets right now are currently 6-5 on the season. They're currently 6-5 on the season after their win against the San Diego Padres on Wednesday, 5-2. Good pitching performance that night from Tyler McGill. And the Mets were able to take 2 out of 3 from the Padres earlier in the week. And they're going to be playing against a couple of the better teams in the National League. But then you have the Oakland Athletics to start out with. This Athletics team is not good. This Athletics team is pretty much a team where they had a good amount of talent a couple of years ago, but they traded away because they just didn't have the payroll and the budget to be able to keep their players on the roster. So they had to trade him away for some young prospects, and they're pretty much in a rebuild mode again, as well as this team. Who knows how much longer they're actually going to be in Oakland for the foreseeable future, because there's been a lot of talk that the Oakland Athletics could be moving out of Oakland and could potentially be looking for a new destination, with Las Vegas obviously being one of the big rumors, because the football franchise, the Oakland Raiders, recently moved to Las Vegas a couple of years ago. So now they're residing in Sin City. And it looks like that the Athletics could be doing the same thing. So the Oakland Athletics right now are a team that has not a lot of talent on that roster. And the New York Mets should at least take 2 out of 3, if not take all 3 games in this 3-game series. No doubt in anybody's mind they should win all 3 of these games in this series. I'd be shocked if they don't. So we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen. But either way, the Mets should at least get off to a very strong start at the beginning of the series. Then they have the Los Angeles Dodgers right after that. That's one of the best teams, if not the best team, in the National League. We know how good the Dodgers are. Dodgers have always been a challenging team in the National League. Mets need to make sure that they don't just absolutely collapse in this West Coast trip. West Coast trips for any sport is very difficult. But especially when you're playing against one of the top teams in National League, in the Dodgers. And we know what kind of roster they boast over there in LA, with players such as Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, just to name a couple. Have to make sure you're on your top game against the Los Angeles Dodgers. Would it be crazy that the Mets can take 2 out of 3? No. What do you think is the most realistic thing they'll do? Maybe 1 out of 3. 2 out of 3 being the best. Possibly could sweep. We don't know. And then you got the San Francisco Giants in the last 4 games of that series, from Thursday to next Sunday. Giants are trying to right now rebound after what was a very difficult season for them. They got a couple of former New York Mets on that roster. Michael Conforto, Wilmer Flores, and J.D. Davis are part of that San Francisco Giants roster right now. They recently just signed their stud starting pitcher, Webb, to a long-term deal. Giants are going to pose a little bit of a different threat. They're trying to see if they can maybe get it together and put themselves over as another good team in the National League and try to get back to the promise they were a couple of years ago when they were one of the top teams in the National League and were a team that could viably represent the National League in the World Series last year. This is not going to be easy for the Mets. Anytime you go on a West Coast trip, like I mentioned earlier, it's always going to be difficult. But the Mets have got to make sure they have poise. They have to make sure they have come together. And they have to play good, solid baseball from beginning to end, no matter what. That's going to be key for this New York Mets team. And then the other news I just want to talk about real quickly. Mets General Manager Billy Eppler was in attendance for top prospect in the National League, in Major Leagues, Brett Baty, the third baseman, who is right now tearing the cover off the baseball. With Eppler in attendance, Baty went 2 for 2 with a 3-run homer in the game today, and he's right now hit his 4th home run of the season when he has an OPS, like I mentioned earlier, of 1.348. He obviously had a couple of experiences last year, but he ended up injuring his finger last year, and he had to miss the entire season due to that injured finger. Brett Baty, at this point, I'd be shocked if Brady doesn't end up making the call up to the Major League roster in the very near future. Eduardo Escobar has pretty much given them next to nothing from the third base position. I've been multiple times harping about this. Baty needs to get called up. I don't understand what the holdup is. Unless it's a service time issue, there's no reason why Brett Baty should not be on this roster with the New York Mets and give them some help at the third base position. He is right now his 228 WRC plus, ranks 3rd in International League with 2 players ahead of him already getting promotions to the majors. He's ready. He's 23 years old. It's time to call him up to the Mets roster and put him at third base. No more stalling. Get Baty up here. And same thing with Francisco Alvarez. This team needs to preach patience with Alvarez. Handle him, not with kid gloves, but handle him wisely and let this kid go out there and get a chance to develop going forward. You don't need to sit Alvarez. Let him go out there and play consistently on the field and get him more reps and experience and let him get his confidence up. We know the type of bat this kid has, and he's improved on his defense. Is still steadily improving. One of the reasons why also Baty might not be getting called up is because his defense is still not really up to par, and the Mets maybe not want to have him up on the main roster with the Mets, and he ends up having his defense cost them some games during the season. That's one of the reasons why Baty has not been called up yet either. But Alvarez, you need to keep preaching patience, get him a good amount of at-bats, let him go out there. He's 21, 22 years old. He's going to need to learn as he goes, but you have to let him go out there and get his playing time and learn on the fly. Same thing when Baty gets called up, and also the same thing with Mark Vientos and Ronny Mauricio when they both eventually get the call up to the Mets roster as well. We might be seeing a youth movement in New York very soon. But either way, Mets have a very, very nice, very critical 10-game road trip coming up against the Oakland Athletics, the Los Angeles Dodgers, and the San Francisco Giants in the next 10 days, as well as Mets General Manager Billy Eppler was in Triple-A Syracuse to watch top prospect Brett Baty get a couple of at-bats over there for the New York Mets after he's tearing the cover off the ball right now. And the Mets need to continue to preach patience with Francisco Alvarez in his young development of his career. Hit that like button if you haven't already. Give a sub to NYGJeffyT85. More news, updates, and chatter surrounding the New York Mets. Turn on the bell for notifications of the next video or short dropping on the channel surrounding the New York Mets. And you guys let me know in the comment section what you think about the news of General Manager Billy Eppler down at Triple-A Syracuse watching Brett Baty, who went 2 for 2 today with another home run, and he's hitting over 1.3 in his OPS so far this season, as well as the preaching the patience for top prospect Francisco Alvarez as he continues to go out there and learn on the fly, and about the New York Mets getting ready for a critical 10-game road trip at the beginning of this Major League Baseball season. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great rest of your Friday. TGIF, thank God it's Friday. Take it easy, and let's go New York Mets as always. All you got to do is you got to believe in those boys from Queens.